And a special hello and welcome into the broadcast each week that we do all about Citadel Sports. We are Citadel Gray Line. We're powered in part by IPS Packaging and some other great sponsors. John Rawl is my name, and it is fantastic to have you back on here. It is a very fun time to be a Citadel Bulldog as the Dogs, and a little bit of a surprise, in my opinion, shocked the Samford Bulldogs last Saturday at Johnson Haygood Stadium and pick up their second consecutive win, their second SoCon win of the year. We're here to break it all down. We've got Andrew Miller of the Charleston Post and Courier on standby. Thomas Scruggs also here to walk it through what happened at Johnson Haygood. But we also have a very special Band of Gold spotlight here on this week's show. And as we have done each week on the program since we got started, we told you all about Senior Private Shop, which presents our knowledge question each week. And this week, our special Band of Gold spotlight is the owner and founder of the Senior Private Shop, and that's Tom Churchill from the Citadel class of 1991. Tom, welcome into Citadel Gray Line.
Thank you so much, John. I can't tell you how appreciative I am of being here today and how much I've enjoyed helping out with the Knob Knowledge this year. It's been great.
You've got some doozies of Knob Knowledge questions, so much so that some have not been answered. In fact, we didn't get a correct answer on last week's, but this week's question that we'll let you ask in the flesh hopefully will be answered while we do the show. And I want to remind people, you can answer while we do this show live on Facebook. Don't feel like you have to wait till the show's over. We need winners. We need Citadel gear and Senior Private gear all over the place. Andrew Miller is with the Charleston Post and Courier, and he does an awesome job. You can find his work on X at APMiller_PNC, and you were pretty active on that account last Saturday, Andrew.
Yeah, a lot to tweet about, a lot to talk about. A dominating defensive performance from the Citadel, which I know surprised a lot of people, probably me included. I thought they would give up a few more points, but you got to give the Bulldogs defense and Raleigh Jackson, the defensive coordinator, a ton of credit. And I go back and I think about last year's team, and they were last in total defense, last in scoring defense, last in a lot of categories, both sides of the ball. The defense was one of the areas where they really struggled, especially giving up big chunk plays. But this year, total 180-degree turnaround. I think Raleigh Jackson deserves an absolute ton of credit there. They're second in the SoCon in scoring defense. They're, I think, in the top 4 in total defense, total yards given up per game. He's just done a fabulous job. And, this is a team that scored 55 points last week against Mercer, which has the number 1 defense, total defense and scoring defense in the Southern Conference and one of the top defenses in the nation. So a lot to feel good about if you're a Citadel fan. I thought offensively in the second half, especially in the third and the fourth quarters, the Citadel offense kind of found a groove, found their rhythm, and were able to score some touchdowns there after really struggling in the first half to sustain drives and put the ball in the end zone.
That is very well noted there, Andrew. Thomas Scruggs, you had a great opportunity to keep up with the Dogs' victory over Samford. Your thoughts on the very big win?
Yeah, John, great win. Defense really showed up. Thank goodness in the first half. We get the interception to open the first half. We get the interception to open the second half. Unfortunately, we couldn't do anything with it in the first half. So we go into the half down 3-0. I think we left a couple points on the field out there, but second half was just a total domination by the only real Bulldogs on the field. So it was great to get that fourth win, that second SoCon win. And I was listening to some of the show this week from the coach, and it was really a signature win for Maurice Drayton. You look back at the Furman game, and it hurts even more every time we win. We gave that game away in the last 8 minutes. So we really should be sitting here talking about our 5th overall win and our 3rd SoCon win. But we're not. That's okay. We've got 2 more opportunities out there with Chattanooga and on the road at Wofford. It looks very beatable right now. So I didn't think – I agree with Andrew. After looking at the week before against Mercer, I was like, we don't match up well. I don't feel good about this one, but give credit to Coach Drayton and his staff. What a great win in Johnson Haygood Stadium.
And if I may interject here, my name is John, but it ought to be Thomas. And I know we've already got Thomas. You're there. We've got Tom on here. Tom, I guess you're born a Thomas, maybe?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we got two Thomases and then an honorary Thomas. My name should be Thomas because, guys, I've been a doubting Thomas on this football team. I didn't think they'd win 2 games this year. Now, isn't that terrible to admit? But I'm finally coming through and admitting I didn't think they'd win but 2 games, and they've already doubled my expectations. And if we rewind to the very first show we did this year, both Thomas number 1 and Andrew number 1 both predicted 4 wins this season, and y'all have done that. So this Thomas salutes you.
And if John, if you think about it, and Coach Drayton and I talked about this after the game on Saturday, they're 3 or 4 plays away from being a 6-win team, 6-3. If you think about a couple of plays against SC State and a couple of plays against Furman, if they could just make it, or get a hold, kick a field goal, whatever you want to put in, put in that blank there, they'd be sitting on 6 wins. They'd be 6-3. Now, would they have a chance to go to the playoffs? Yeah, probably not, or maybe compete for the SoCon championship. Yeah, maybe not, but still 6 wins after what they went through last year.
Right.
That's amazing to me, that the turnaround. And you give Coach Drayton 2 more recruiting classes, and I think you're going to see a program that's going to, consistently win 6, 7, 8, 9 games every year, because he could, not getting too far ahead. I just think his ability to recruit and retain players is going to be huge moving forward, and he seems to have done a really good job thus far of doing that.
Well, we'll keep talking about the big win over the Samford Bulldogs. Again, I call it a little bit of a surprise, but really, let's be honest, I think it was. And if we look at some of the highlights, you'll see there early in the game, the Citadel got down, but came storming back, and that offense seemed to be clicking from that early part of the game on, Andrew.
Yeah, no doubt. I think they found their rhythm after halftime. I asked Coach Drayton, what kind of rah-rah speech was it, and he goes, it really wasn't. It was just, let's pay attention to detail, let's execute a little bit better. Sometimes, people who played like I did in high school, in the late 70s, early 80s, you expect coaches to yell at you all the time, and sometimes that's not the best strategy. Just kind of pointing out the differences the changes and the adjustments that you make is sometimes all you need. And I thought, again, in the second half, the Citadel offense really kind of stepped up and was able to find the end zone a couple of times. But again, defensively, they were set up with a couple of short fields with a couple of interceptions and a fumble, and I think that really was the key. Really, the key to me was getting that interception on the first drive of the opening series of the second half when, I think 2 plays into the second half, Samford turns the ball over, and then the Citadel's able to capitalize on that. And that to me was the turning point in the game.
Yeah, and remember going into this game, Samford had the week prior knocked off a very good Mercer team.
Yeah, but that, again, the 55 points I thought was a little deceptive there, because Mercer had 6 turnovers. In the first 3 possessions that Mercer had, they had a shank punt, a fumble, and an interception that gave Samford a short field. Now, Samford had give them credit. They were able to take advantage of that and put points on the board. But then when Mercer made it close, then Samford comes up with a pick 6 and then a scoop and score defensively, and that was kind of the turning point. That put the game away. So the score, 55 points, was a little bit deceiving because they didn't have a ton of yards, but they were able to capitalize, again, Furman, on the turnovers that they created, and they were able to score off those.
One of those highlights we just saw was of the great James Platt.
Yeah.
And he's getting some good accolades this week.
Yeah, National Special Teams Player of the Week, SoCon Player of the Week, averaged like 54 yards a kick, had a couple of 60-yard punts in there, was able to flip the field a couple of times for the Citadel defense. Citadel defense. Those are huge plays by James. James is a great story. Didn't know how to kick. Kind of came to the program. I wrote a story about him last year as a walk-on and kind of earned his way onto the field, and then now has become one of the top punters at the FCS level.
Doing a good job, and I think a guy up the road in Charleston Southern Country also is doing a good job on the punting side this year.
Yeah, no doubt.
But the Citadel, of course, beat those Buccaneers. A nice win for the Citadel. And with that, again, 2 straight wins for Maurice Drayton's program. And, hey, this week they get to enjoy an open week.
Yeah, an open week this week, a chance for them to kind of rest some guys who got some bumps and bruises. Although, knock on wood here again, it's been a pretty injury-free season for the Citadel. They've been very fortunate. Sometimes injuries, just happen, and there's nothing you can do about it. But they've been pretty injury-free. Most of their main guys have played pretty much the entire season. So, but again, anytime you get a chance to rest your legs and get ready, have a couple of weeks, an extra few days to prepare is going to be good. Although I tell you what, and I don't know if Thomas and Tom agree with this, but you win a couple in a row, you're starting to play better. Maybe you don't want the bye week. Maybe you want to go ahead and play this week too because you're kind of on a roll.
Tom, what say you?
I got to say, I'm going to go back. I'll answer Andrew's question, but I'm going to go back to your Down Thomas remark. I was hoping for 4 wins, but I had no thought that we would beat Samford. So I'm with you. I really feel this was a surprise win. And as such, to Andrew's comment, you've got that energy, you're flowing. You could see it in the second half as the team saw how good they could be and kept going. It would have been nice to keep going, but to have that, let's get some rest so that we can go out there week after next, I think that's a good thing too.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and it's a home game that should, so you're not traveling. So you shouldn't, no excuse on getting off to a slow start. No excuse about getting, having heavy legs or anything like that. They should be ready to go.
And
you sound like a knob there, Andrew, with all those no excuse stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, let's give our audience a chance to win some great stuff from seniorprivate.com with Tom, our very special guest, the founder and proprietor of seniorprivate.com. And we do this knob knowledge question each and every week here on Citadel Gray Line. And so let me pull up the graphic here, remind everybody about what we do. You get a chance to text your answer to 843-779-8496. And if you correctly send the first person that correctly sends that our way gets a great prize pack from seniorprivate.com. Last week, we did not have a correct guess sent in time. The question was, who was the graduate in charge of the casket detail for President John F. Kennedy? The answer was Major Samuel R. Byrd from the Citadel class of 1961, and he was the subject of the book So Proudly He Served, and that was a Reader's Digest article about his leadership also. And tell us a little bit more about Major Samuel Byrd, class of 1961, Tom Churchill.
Well, to start off with Sam, the first time I heard about him was actually in that Reader's Digest article. It was just about leadership and how he as a man showed up to his troops in Vietnam and put his men first. And in the end, he had the chance to go home early and didn't, and was involved in a very bad accident or injury through the war, and came home, and he would end up dying of his wounds. He's on the Vietnam Memorial Wall, and he's also in our memorial next to, next to Summerall Chapel. But a lot of people saw him during the funeral of the president, and his men were carrying the casket and started to, I don't want to say fall, but they weren't holding it quite correctly. And he just slowly put his hand on and was able to adjust it and keep it smooth. And a lot of people saw that and grasped onto how he was handling himself in such a big situation. After the Reader's Digest article, his wife wrote the book about his life, So Proudly He Served. You can still find it on eBay. I know a lot of the older grads had it signed by her when she was in front of the gift shop in front of one of the homecomings. So it's a great book. I have it in my Citadel shelf. Highly suggest it.
And Byrd was actually wounded his very last day serving in Vietnam. Yeah. And those injuries would linger, and he would die, as you said, in the early 1980s in his native Kansas. And he's listed as a Vietnam casualty, but did not die until many years after the war. I first heard the name Sam Byrd. Thomas, you should know this because I know you were probably looking around campus as a little knob walking around. His name is on the Bulldog Monument outside of McAllister Fieldhouse. There's a little small bulldog out there. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I've seen the bulldog. I didn't know his name was on it, though.
Yeah, there's a plaque underneath that in his memory. And so, if you ever are looking around as a knob and you can get away with it, check that out. But, yes, Sam Byrd, the correct answer of that knob knowledge question for last week. Now, we bring you to this week, because Tom didn't have to send a winner for last week because nobody correctly guessed it. So we will take it back to Tom to ask this week's knob knowledge question. Tom, take it away.
So this week we're going to give a replica guidon and guidon sticker bundle of your choice. So whatever company you'd like, if you can, the first person who can correctly answer this question. In 1862, while other Southern colleges were closing down, the Citadel and the Arsenal were seeing increases in cadet enrollment. The Board of Visitors requested from the state legislature to use buildings from what school so that they could continue to expand?
Gosh, you asked some tough ones, Tom. I don't, I fancy myself as an amateur historian, and I'm not sure I know that. But luckily, somebody out there probably knows this question. Do you happen to have in arm's length reach those guidon gifts that you're going to offer?
Well, I do. Here's the stickers. So they fit well on either a computer or Yeti, whatever. And then here is a guidon. It's of the best company, of course. You can barely see it. Let me go back some. There we go. So
a casual cat.
That's right. And it's on both sides.
Okay.
So unlike the real one that's only on one side, I actually had it printed on both for folks.
Well, that is awesome. Again, if you happen to know that question, sum it up real quick. What's that question again this week, Tom?
I would say real quick, during the Civil War, the BOV asked to use what closed down school near it. That'll be a hint, and so that we could expand. But we were told no. We'll leave it at that.
No wonder South Carolina did not do too well in the Civil War. They didn't take the advice of the Citadel. My goodness. All right. So text that answer in. We would love to give that away. From seniorprivate.com. Check out all kinds of goodies. And we're going to learn a little bit more about his shop before we wrap up today's program. And I know Andrew's sitting there saying, I know this one. This one's easy.
I do know that one.
Okay. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. You're not John Rawl. You do know that one. All right. Well, hold your answer. Okay. Well,
hold my answer. Okay, I got you.
All right. Well, if nobody else gets it, we'll have to reward you next week. But appreciate, Tom, all those great questions that we've been able to get in this week. The question is for you, Andrew, or Thomas, or whoever wants to take this one. How does the Citadel capitalize on this 2-game win streak as they head into an open week?
Well, again, I think, staying healthy is the key. I think what a lot of coaches do during their open weeks is to self-evaluate. They'll go in and they'll look at themselves and try to figure out where their shortcomings are, where their strengths are, improve the shortcomings that they have, make some any kind of tactical or schematic changes that you can do over a couple of days. They're not going to be major changes for the most part, but, kind of fine tuning what they've done up to this point. Because, at this point in the season, you got 3 games left. You got Chattanooga, you got Wofford, and then you got Clemson. And, you've been building up to this point. I think, a pretty good, rise in improvement from day to day, from week to week, from game to game. So I think that we're going to continue to see that improvement. And I still think their best football is ahead of them in these last, especially the last couple of games. Clemson, just don't get caught up in that. That's a money game. They're doing that for financial reasons. That's the only reason And you know what? If you're a Citadel fan, you should appreciate it as far as if you're going to go to the game and be a part of that atmosphere. Because I'm telling you what, these games are going to be few and far between here for the next. They're going to start tapering off in the next couple of years as the Power 4 schools, increase their number of games, conference games, to 8 to 9 in most conferences, and games against FCS opponents are going to go away, unfortunately.
I hope you're wrong. But you knew more about this than I do.
Yeah.
I don't know what the Citadel's going to do and other schools like it to make up that financial difference.
Yeah, I don't know either. And that'll be very interesting to see what happens. And I think I've said this before on this show. There are 50, 60 schools that are. I see Thomas is putting in his 2 cents. There are 50 or 60 schools that actually make money playing major college athletics, and those 50 or 60 schools, as far as football goes, are just going to break off and they're going to form their own entity, whatever that entity is. And then the rest of the teams and divisions that are available are just going to kind of fall in line, one underneath the other. I don't think a lot's going to change for the Citadel. I think the FCS is going to remain intact. I think it's going to be strong, a strong league to play in. But I think you're going to see those group of 4 teams kind of form their own entity itself, and they might still under be the NCAA umbrella at that point.
I see. So the Citadel might get a few money games, but they may be more against the Sun Belt type teams. It may give them $200,000 to come play there or something like that.
Right, whatever. I think Georgia Southern gave them $450 or $500, and I think that's probably what you'll see in the future.
Well, we love those big money games and love playing and sometimes beating those big money opponents. Hopefully Clemson's going to be the next example of that here before we get to the month of December. Thomas, thoughts on what you heard from Coach Drayton at his weekly presser or his radio show that he does with Legal A's this week? By the way, our voice of the Bulldogs parent, his father, I believe, passed away, and he was there in Arizona for that. So our condolences to the Citadel broadcast team for that. Legal A's, I thought, did a great job filling in on the coach's radio show Monday. Thomas, your thoughts on Coach Drayton?
Yeah, I listened to the radio show this morning, John. Coach is obviously upbeat. I think, they talked about it being a signature win, talked about how close they were really to having that special season, 5 or 6 wins, talked about, the 3 phases of the game that he likes to talk about, that he felt like they won. He was very frustrated. I thought it was interesting. He was very frustrated by the lack of points off of turnovers in the first half. And I think he staged a little motivation session for his players by screaming at the referees on what he thought, should have been calls against Samford. So, but it seems to have worked. His team came out with a lot of energy in the second half, and really, I thought it was interesting too. That we come out, we're already up. The game's over. We're up 21-3. We come out throwing the ball. I mean, really talked about what was that term? You hear putting your foot on their necks, but he used another term like taking a sledgehammer to a gnat, I think is what it was. But that was just great to see that, some people would say, well, you shouldn't be throwing the ball in that case, but now it's the defense's job. Like Spur used to always say, it's the defense's job to stop the offense. Okay. So I thought that was outstanding just to see that, we're making a statement here with this win. I was disappointed at the end of the game, and they were trash points. We gave up, that late touchdown. I kind of wanted the final score to be 28-3, but, so be it.
But you're still happy.
And I've got evidence here. I will be in the stands. I got my tickets printed out for the Chattanooga game. I'm excited about that atmosphere that Andrews talks about, here in a couple weeks. We've got the Citadel Baseball fundraising golf tournament in Mount Pleasant that Friday. And Saturday will be set aside for Jonathan Haygood Stadium.
Well, it's about time you came aboard the program.
Yeah, I don't think you should be talking.
Oh, no, I'm just teasing. By the way, I'm glad you can show off your tickets. I bought tickets to the Clemson game, and I still haven't got them, so I don't know what the plan is for that.
Yeah, if mine were given to me, so I don't know.
I bought them through the Citadel.
I don't know if they still. Oh, you bought them from the Citadel Athletic
Yeah,
Department.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm not giving my money to no stinking Clemson University.
Well, maybe they can't find your rural route address there in Mississippi.
Oh, what a wise guy! What a wise guy! But no, I'm glad you got those tickets. All right, so the Bulldogs have the open week. Thomas, how are you going to celebrate?
Well, by watching a lot of football, not worrying about whether the Citadel's winning or losing. I hope those guys are getting some rest this weekend. They're going to probably watch some football as well, eat a lot of food they don't normally eat, on a game weekend.
Yeah.
They maybe go chase some College of Charleston girls. I don't know.
Yes, that hopefully will work out for some of them. But a much deserved break here for the team as they do have the open week. Andrew, any closing notes on the Bulldog team before we switch over to some basketball?
No, I'm really looking forward to these last two SoCon games to see where they can, to see if they can continue the momentum that they've built over these last two games and to see them improve. I know that last week there were a lot of recruits in town at the game, and I know that Coach Drayton might have gotten a verbal commitment here or two, but we'll have to see. The early signing day is coming up in December, so. And again, one thing I do know about Maurice Drayton, he's going to be able to recruit kids, and he's going to bring some talent in here. So, again, if they can continue to build on this momentum, I think the future is super bright here for the Citadel moving forward.
Andrew, okay, you've already corrected us on maybe the future of FCS playing the big boy teams. Didn't something recently come down on National Signing Day where it's kind of going away? So how does that affect the normal December early signing period?
I didn't see that. There have been two signing periods, one in February and then one in December, and the one in December has only been around for I think 7 or 8 years, and that's becoming the big signing day. But you might be talking about roster sizes and guaranteed full scholarships, and I don't know.
I think it's got something to do with they don't actually have to sign a letter of intent. Does that sound right, Thomas?
I believe you're right, John.
Yeah, I had not heard that. So you're telling me that is news to me. I'd love to sit here and pontificate on something that I don't know about, which I do quite often. But no, I don't know enough about that subject. If they don't have to sign a national letter of intent, I don't think that changes a whole lot. I mean, a lot of your graduate transfers, they're not signing national letters of intent either. They just kind of show up and enroll at the school, and then they're on the team and on the roster.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as big a deal as we're making it out to be.
Right, and I think that's one of the reasons they're kind of getting rid of it. It's not going to be quite the spectacle, although it was a big deal for a lot of small programs like the Citadel to get their special time at a high school and people know who they are.
Yep.
All right, so got that recruiting information from Andrew and more. Again, going into this off week, injury-wise, how does the team look?
You talk about football or basketball? Have we switched?
We haven't switched yet. No, I'll let you know.
Again, health-wise, they're still, again, it's been no really major injuries to any key guys. So, they should be really healthy and ready to go and rested going into this Chattanooga game.
All right. Chattanooga, to me, seems one of the better teams in the conference. I don't know what they did last week. Didn't they beat somebody?
Yeah, I can't. Now you got me. I can't remember.
It's all right. It's okay. This we'll work on this during our open week. We'll study up on all the SoCon teams, the rosters, and more. All right, now we can make. Are we okay? Let's take a vote. Are we okay to switch over to basketball real quick?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Without objection. Tell me about Citadel Bulldog basketball. A lot of teams already have some scrimmages and more under their belt. What's going on with Ed Conroy's team?
I did watch them play on Sunday against Barton, which I did not know was a school in North Carolina. I don't know why I thought that. I thought they were in Georgia, but they were a Division II school. They were a little undersized. Talking about Barton. One of the things that I did a story. It was in today's paper. I think it's on our website today on Brody Fox. He led he was second in Division III in scoring. He averaged 26 points a game. He's 6'5", 6'4", 6'5"-ish, long arms. Doesn't shoot a lot of threes, which kind of surprised me, averaging 26 points a game. But he gets to the rim. He gets fouled a lot. He lived at the free throw line the last couple of years when he played at Wisconsin Stout. He averaged between 8 and 10 free throws every game, and that's something that Coach Conroy loves. They love getting to the free throw line and scoring from there. So I thought he was pretty impressive. I think he had 17 or 18 points in the game against Barton. They're going to be a team that's going to be, their tallest guy is probably going to be 6'7" or 6'8". They don't have what I would call a true center, a true post guy. Rebounding is going to be an issue for them, but I think they'll be able to spread the floor. I think they've got some skill, and it should be an interesting season. It's unfortunate that they don't have the kind of the returning talent that they had last year, and AJ is now playing for the College of Charleston. Madison Durs, he's also transferred out. So it's unfortunate those guys didn't hang around, because I think you add those two guys to the team that they had coming back, they would have had a pretty decent team that would have been, middle of the pack in the Southern Conference. I think Christian Moore, he blew out his knee last year. His return, he's a 6'6" guy, can rebound, can play a little bit in the post, but also can score the ball. So, he's returning. He's going to be healthy. If not for the opener against Boston College, then the following week. So, again, they're going to have to rebound as a team, play defense as a team, and hopefully not get beat up in the paint as much, too much this year. And for the answer to your question, Chattanooga beat BMI 31-10 last week.
Okay, I thought they beat the Keydets. So did the SoCon coaches poll for the basketball come out? Preseason?
Yeah, they were picked last.
The Citadel was picked last.
VMI was picked last. VMI was picked last. They were picked 9th or 8th.
Okay. Whew, man, what an improvement. The good old Pat Conroy Military Elimination Day still haunts these two schools in their basketball futures, but maybe one day. So when is the Boston College game? Do we have that, anybody?
Monday night, November 4th. It'll be at 8 p.m. The game will actually be televised if you have it on the ACC network.
How about that? And I believe it was just last year the ACC network broadcast the Citadel's shocking upset of Notre Dame.
Yeah, and then they could have beaten Boston College last year. They had them. They had them down in the second half. I think they were up double digits midway through the second half, and give Earl Grant, the former Stall High School and College of Charleston coach, credit. They were able to come back and win that game.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to covering Ed Conroy's Dogs before we sign off for the year here in a few weeks. But we've got a request in to interview him, so we hopefully will not only talk to him but also to Coach Triplett. We got an interview request in for him, the new Citadel baseball coach, before we sign off in late November. So we're hopefully going to be busy with a lot of great interviews coming up. We got one coming up in just a minute here with Tom Churchill, the proprietor of SeniorPrivate.com. I know you're a little bit nervous about that, right, Tom?
So very nervous.
Okay.
Trying to follow Andrew. I mean, I'm toast.
Yeah. All right. Andrew, any other notes from the Citadel Athletic Department? How's it going with the athletic director search?
Well, that is continuing. The Board of Visitors met last week. They did not throw out any names. It has been, as I've been joking with some of my colleagues, it has been 0 dark 30 at the Citadel. They've done a really good job of not leaking out names and information, which, of course, makes my job a little bit more difficult. But I'm up for the challenge. I'm going to try to get to the bottom of things. So I think they're hoping to hire somebody by the end of the year.
Oh, this calendar year, not the academic year?
Correct. Yeah, I think what they're hoping is that they can get at least somebody named by the beginning of the new year.
All right, Thomas, go ahead and drop my name in the pile if you don't mind.
I've been trying to get you back to South Carolina for a while, John. So maybe this is the perfect opportunity.
I don't think so. All right. Good deal. Anything else from the athletic? Any more feedback from you or a reaction to your great article you had in the Post and Courier recently about the Citadel at a crossroads?
I talked to some people after the football game against Samford on Saturday at Johnson Haygood, and some of them, they all kind of say the same thing. Several of them will thank me. Hey, I didn't know all these were all the issues that we were having. Thanks for bringing that to light. And then the other ones were kind of, some of them wanted to know, well, who do I need to talk to about, righting the ship and helping, the Citadel out financially? Because again, my premise to this whole issue is money, and that's what it's going to come down to. It's how much money that the school is willing to spend on athletics. So a lot of them have done that, but no negative stuff. Nobody taking shots at me, which I was a little bit surprised at.
Well, we can change that real quick, Andrew.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm sure you can.
Yeah. No, you did a great job. I hope you win a couple of Pulitzer prizes for that great work, because that was not easy.
Yeah.
Well,
I appreciate it.
Why not? They give fake Pulitzers anyway for some political stuff from time to time. You deserve it for your great work. All right. We're going to switch over and talk to Tom Churchill. But before we do that, we got to tell you all about some of our great sponsors. We've got several that help bring Citadel Gray Line to us each and every week. IPS Packaging and Automation is our title sponsor. Senior Private Shop, which we're going to get to Tom in a sec. But also want to let you know about two other great presenters of this show, and that's Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning and Hood Construction. And Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning, let me first tell you about them, as they are based in the Columbia area, and they do a tremendous job. FranklinPlumbingSC.com is the website address for them, and you can give them a call and schedule a emergency service if you need to. The number right there on the screen, Franklin Plumbing SC. They will be happy to come out. They're a Citadel-led company and do a great job. And, that drain cleaning is something that some may overlook, but let me warn you, don't do that. Especially if you got a home with a little age to it, Franklin can certainly come aboard and help you. It's FranklinPlumbingSC.com, the website. Also in South Carolina, we have Hood Construction. HoodConstruction.com is the website. They've got more than 30 years of expertise in South Carolina, North Carolina, and Georgia. If you go to their website, you can see the great array of projects they're working on. And no finer example of a Hood Construction project is right there. There's the perfect example. And he's evidently goofing off and not listening to me. Yeah, that would be you. Do you mind bragging on Hood Construction for a second?
Yeah. Well, that's great, John. We appreciate it.
I think Hood Construction built you. So tell me about Hood Construction.
Yeah, we've been in business since 1986. Like you said, over 30 years, and we build it the right way. Every client, every project, every time, no matter the size.
All right. And tell me, when you're not doing Citadel Gray Line there at the Hood Construction Broadcast Center, what else do you do there?
So I'm a senior project manager for Hood Construction, John. I manage projects all over the state. I've done a project up at North Greenville University, Old 96. We renovated a high school up there. Currently finishing up a Catholic church here in downtown Columbia. And we are going to be starting a renovation to the Student Life Center at the College of Charleston first quarter around January of this year, about an 18-month project. So I'll be down in the Low Country quite a bit over the next year and a half.
All right, Hood Construction. We appreciate their support of Citadel Gray Line. When I asked you your role there, you started to say senior and I thought you were going to.
Actually, I was a cadet officer. I was a platoon leader. Thank you.
Yeah.
I would have said platoon leader.
I thought you were going to tell me you were a senior private there at Hood Construction, but
No.
we don't need to go to you, Mr. Rank Holder, as a senior, when we got the real senior private right there. Tom Churchill, class of 1991 from Charlie Company, USA.
Yeah, I got to say, I was honored to be a senior private. I went by the numbers, didn't give up and try to have that platoon leader like Thomas did there. But does it count if you're in Delta Company and you have an officer rank, Thomas?
Does it count? Well, we're not casual like you. We are the frat, so I don't know. I think the reason they gave me rank, Tom, that they had a slot. We had moved so many folks to other companies. We had so many outstanding people in Delta Company in 95 that they didn't have enough leaders in the Corps, so we had to provide some battalion commanders and company commanders. So there was a shortage there. So they said, well, we'll let Thomas carry a sword in parade. So I think that's all it was.
There you go.
Well,
it certainly wasn't the example by a certain 93 guy.
Yeah, I can proudly declare here I never had rank, and I graduated as a senior private and wouldn't have had it any other way. Not all of us are suck ups, Thomas.
Yeah.
So tell me about senior private, how you went from, 4-year gold star cadet to running a business about Citadel merchandise and more.
So a little background, a little over a decade ago on social media, we had a cadet who it was coming up to ring night, and we asked her if she was excited, and she said she hadn't bought a ring, and we couldn't believe it. And we asked her why, and it ended up it was she couldn't afford it. And I don't know Thomas and John, but I think mine was $350 when I got it in 1990. It was up to $1,200 for her then. And you tag on, as expensive as the school as it has become for a variety of reasons, a lot of people just can't afford to get the ring. And as we dug into it, we found that anywhere from 10 to 20 cadets each year did not get their ring. So we did on social media, we tried to raise some money to buy a ring for this cadet, and we were hoping for $1,500. We raised $12,000. And so we went to the Citadel Foundation and asked if we could start a fund. They thought we were nuts until we gave them a check for $12,000, and then they're like, "Okay, we'll talk to you." We needed to raise up about $50,000 to get it endowed so that we could do 2 rings a year. And we were having a hard time raising money. Everybody has, things they want to give money to. Asking for to give money for a ring kind of was hard to get to. But so I started up selling T-shirts and donating money. And that just has become the senior private shop, is what it ended up becoming, with a lot of the profits going back into the fund, which now has about $116,000 in it. And we can give up to 4 rings a year at this point. And we keep going, trying to get up. We work with the CAA, who they have a ring fund called the Palmetto Ring Fund that also gives rings out. So we worked together on that, but was how the senior private shop kind of got started, and it's expanded over years. We started off, I was doing ring stuff in barracks, the old barracks shirts that weren't quite legal, trademarked, and I'm now fully licensed through the school, both through the CAA and through Bond Hall. I can't believe as a senior private, I get to say that I get Bond Hall to approve stuff for me. It's crazy to think.
They're calling you.
Yeah, it's been a little nuts. They loved, let me see if I've got it. Don't know if you saw the Citadel Country Club. We created this. They thought that was nuts. So, we do stuff like that. We will sometimes raise money for different groups. Recently, the hockey club reached out to me. We helped design the logo for their team. And we've got patches and stickers and other stuff. So we'll help raise money for them now too. So really excited about the opportunity to do this and to help out and give back to the school. And quite frankly, get stuff that I would like. That's one of the key things. I want to get stuff that cadets and graduates would like. And it's not like, unfortunately, you go into some stores, it's the same store over 50 different colleges. We're trying to get stuff specific to the school and the traditions that the school has.
Tom, what's your most popular item?
The Lords of Discipline stuff, I would have to say. Let me see if I have
Thomas, you're probably not familiar too much with discipline, but I'm sure.
So I'm not sure if you can see this. This is the patch.
Okay.
So it looks like a little motorcycle thing. It's behind the 8-ball. We've got the classic C there, and it kind of puts together how the school looks at itself, I think.
Okay.
That's the most popular, and currently followed by our road less traveled stuff. So I know a lot of graduates, when they see that sign, they have bad thoughts. But believe it or not, that as a sticker or shirt kind of sells really well.
I'd like to drive by your house sometime, Tom, and check out. You got some good stuff there. Of course, Thomas and I both benefited from a nice prize pack, a little gift. What do they call it? Gift bag of goodies from you. And so, care package. That's the word I was looking for.
That's the way, yeah, good old care package, like back in the day when we were cadets, walking up and getting that little note saying you got a package and you were hoping it was something good. So I'm glad you liked it. I tried to pick out some good stuff for y'all.
Yeah, unlike the old days, which I didn't get too many of those, but unlike the old days, before you get back to your room, more than half of the goodies were all taken by others. I didn't have that problem with what you sent here in 2024.
John, you mostly receive Dear John letters at this point, right?
Every letter I get's a Dear John letter. Thomas, even the ones from you. Thomas, I know you like what seniorprivate.com offers. Brag on them if you don't mind, sir.
Oh, the packages you sent over, Tom, were outstanding. You know, I like the fact that it's something you're not going to walk into the bookstore, right, at the Citadel and find these things. You know, I'm always looking for, Citadel specific things that most people don't know about or they don't have. So as a matter of fact, I've got one of the stickers on the back of my laptop here. It's the picture of the barracks, Military College, South Carolina, established 1842. So I'm busy right now trying to find different places, to put these stickers. The Yeti was a great idea. So yeah, and the patches, it's interesting. I thought, what am I going to do with some of these Velcro patches, especially Big Red? There was a fundraiser, a Wounded Warrior fundraiser at an event I was at about a month ago. And, they gave me one of these camo hats that has an interchangeable Velcro on the front. So now I know exactly what to do with that Big Red. So yeah, I love the products. I love the website. I'm looking forward to you expanding your product line.
So here's the deal. I have to say some of the best things that I sell have been ideas from fellow grads. So like the country club thing, Harm class of 88, he used to sell it door to door to knobs as a hat. Mm-hmm. And we modernized it to have the Big Red on it and stuff and started to sell, and it's gone nuts. So I tell people, if you have an idea and you want to see something, reach out to me. We got a big Facebook page, or you can go to seniorprivate.com. It will get you to me, and I'll be glad to work with you. I've worked with plenty of cadets, with their parents, with grads, with the Citadel clubs. I'd be glad to do it because, like I said, I have sometimes my 3 brain cells don't get the good stuff out there, so I depend on others.
I'll have to share with you a recent discovery that I got courtesy of my ex-wife. So I helped design 2 back-to-back years of T-shirts for Dog Days in the early 90s. And I remember doing the one when I was a junior. I had totally forgotten I did the one when I was a senior. And my wife of the time was going to grab a bunch of my old T-shirts and make a quilt. Well, somewhere along the way we got divorced, and somewhere along the way she forgot about it. Well, she recently found this bunch of shirts of mine, and one of those was this shirt that I designed in 1993 for Dog Day, which is unfortunately no longer in existence. But I'll have to send that one to you, Tom, because I'm kind of proud of my design from over 30 years ago. But and it's not quite so politically incorrect either. But anyway, great ideas that grads can get. And Andrew is the father of a Citadel alumnus. So what can you do for those who weren't cadets?
So we can do stuff. We could make, like I've got parent stickers that we can do, moms and dads. We can do regular shirts for them too. If Andrew, we'll get in touch with each other and we'll get you an LOD shirt if you like.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What are you, a small or medium, Andrew?
I'm an extra large.
I'm not.
But thank you for that.
You're quite welcome. I appreciate all that you do for the school, and I'm going to go back and tell you, that article on the athletic department, I did post it on several Citadel Facebook pages. It did provide a lot of conversation. Most of it was positive because it brought out what people didn't know, as you said. There's some of us that have been reading your stuff and know what's been going on, but others that just don't get how difficult it is for the school to keep going with all of this. So thank you for everything that you do.
Oh, well, you're more than welcome. And again, writing stories like that, it's always really interesting for me because it takes, a lot of times we're just there kind of parachuting in for a day or for a couple of hours to write stories and stuff like that. I mean, you do kind of do that. But that was one that, took me quite the journey. And it was something that was really interesting. And so, I like the kind of deep dives, we call them enterprise stuff in the business, where you get to take a deep dive into a particular subject. And a story that I'm going to be working on in the next few months is going to be, how do schools like the Citadel and the College of Charleston and Charleston Southern and all the other schools in the Southern Conference, how are they going to adapt and how are they going to evolve in the current landscape of college athletics and what's to come with that, which I think is going to be a fascinating. It's just going to be fascinating to see what happens to schools like Citadel, like College of Charleston, like the Southern Conference schools, and where do they fall into the ecosystem that now is college athletics.
All right. Well, the mailman has arrived. Remember Tom's website, seniorprivate.com, 843-779-8496 is how you can text your Knob Knowledge question this week about what school the Citadel tried to team up with during the Civil War, and evidently didn't work out too good. We still need an answer. Of course, seniorprivate.com's got a lot of great goodies, and we want to thank Tom Churchill of Senior Private for being our very special Band of Gold Spotlight, sir, and thank you for all you do for our show each and every week.
I so appreciate being able to be involved, and I love, as I told you beforehand, I loved watching you guys beforehand. Now it's even better that I got this small little connection with you. I thank you so much.
You're welcome here anytime. Andrew, you have a great week and enjoy your open week. Maybe you've got a very good game you can go to non-Citadel this week.
Yeah, Charleston Battery, the local minor league soccer team here in town, they're playing in their first playoff game on Saturday. So unfortunately, not a whole weekend off, but yeah, it is football. But what I do like about at least this kind of soccer is that it's a running clock and you can't stop the clock.
Well, we appreciate it. Enjoy your open week. We'll see you next week.
You guys as well.
All right. And Thomas, I do wish you a very good weekend. I bet you that little picture behind you might be where you're hanging out on Saturday.
Yes, we go to those games with my in-laws, so I can assure you I will not be watching soccer, even if I was not going there this weekend. So, yeah, and looking forward to some football this weekend.
All right. Well, we appreciate it. You have a great week and off week, and we'll see you back here next week.
Thanks, John.
All right. One last thing before we get out of here. I want to tell you all about IPS packaging. And IPS is a proud presenter of this show. They've been cheering on the Bulldogs for many decades. Family-owned business, Citadel-led since 1976. They play a crucial role in the packaging processes of businesses all across the country. And again, they have been a big part of this show for more than a decade. Discover what IPS Packaging can do for you. Go into their website, ipack.com, or call 800-277-7007. IPS Packaging and Automation, based in the upstate, a proud supporter of Citadel Athletics. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. Again, enjoy your open week. The Dogs off. Then it's Chattanooga coming in for a big homecoming game that first full weekend. Yeah, I guess it's full weekend. No, it'll be the second full weekend in November. I'm all confused. But we appreciate you tuning in. Again, you can find this show on YouTube. You can find it at iTunes. Got to give a special shout out to my old friend Ed Glad, who listens religiously to this show on iTunes. He says he's got about a 25-minute way into work one way and 25 back, so he listens to the show audio only on iTunes and then catches the second half when on his ride home. So, hey, just make sure you keep it in the middle of the road, sir, and buckle up while you're listening to the Gray Line. Y'all have a great week. We will see y'all back here next week getting you ready for those mocks from Hamilton County, Tennessee.